Chronic diarrhea, chronic vomiting, recurrent abdominal pain, loss of appetite, weight loss, difficulty passing stool. A lot of people think, well, that makes sense. The problem must be somewhere in the gastrointestinal tract. And this is exactly where things get interesting. Chronic gastrointestinal problems in small animals are not simply one and the same disease. Gastrointestinal symptoms can have a wide variety of causes, some of which may not even originate in the gastrointestinal tract. They are better understood as a whole spectrum of different disorders. And that's exactly what we're going to look at today. The gastrointestinal tract is one of the most complex systems within the body. It doesn't just consist of first the stomach, second small intestine, third large intestines. It is also closely connected to the immune system, for example, or the nervous system, or even the hormonal system. And last but not least, the gut has its own microbiome. This means that when an imbalance develops somewhere within the system, it can manifest in many different ways. When we look at chronic gastrointestinal diseases in dogs and cats, we typically see several major categories in clinical practice. First, digestive disorders. Here, the focus is primarily on the digestive process itself. For example, first, inadequate nutrient absorption. Second, fluctuating stool consistency. And third, incomplete digestion. Often, the animal otherwise appears relatively stable, but digestion is simply not working efficiently. But let's talk about inflammatory gastrointestinal diseases for a moment. Another major category is chronic inflammatory processes within the gastrointestinal tract. These can lead to recurrent vomiting, chronic diarrhea, or loss of appetite, abdominal pain, and they often occur in recurring flare-ups. Let's talk about functional disorders of the GI tract. Here, the organ itself may appear structurally normal, but its function is impaired. Typically, signs include stress-related symptoms, fluctuating appetite, a sensitive gastrointestinal tract. In these cases, the system can be particularly sensitive to external influences. But now let's talk about dysbiosis, or the microbiome, because the gut's microbiome is also receiving increasing attention lately. When the balance of bacteria is disrupted, this can contribute to chronic digestive problems. Who would have thought? Secondly, gas formation, or third, soft stools, or immune system reactions. But now let's talk about diseases that may be mistaken as gastrointestinal diseases. Because there are cases where several factors interact at the same time. For example, an inflammation and stress, or diet and microbiome, or the immune response and an impaired motility of the gut. Those impairments are often those cases that are the most difficult to stabilize over long term in clinical practice. And this is exactly where traditional Chinese medicine comes into play across this entire spectrum. Not with the idea of one diagnosis and one treatment, but rather with the question, how is the functional balance within the system disrupted? In TCM, the gastrointestinal tract is not viewed in isolation. Instead, the focus is on functional patterns such as weakness of digestive function, stagnation within the digestive system, an imbalance between heat and cold, or problems related to dampness within the body. This means that two animals with the exact same symptom may be treated in completely different ways. And that's exactly why this topic is so extensive. Because behind the term chronic gastrointestinal problems, there isn't just one single disease, but an entire system of different disorders. At least if you ask a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. An important point to keep in mind: chronic gastrointestinal diseases should always be individually evaluated and diagnosed using conventional veterinary medicine. And at this point, I'd like to bring Francesca back in to summarize the most important takeaways. Come on, Francesca, tell us once more. If you have an animal at home that is suffering from a disease, please don't just rely on these kind of videos, because they are just for educational purposes only. If you have an animal at home that is suffering from a disease, please take it to a vet, that the vet can have a look on it and diagnose it accordingly. It is very important that your animal gets a treatment plan especially designed for its disease. In many cases, TCM can offer a complementary approach, particularly in functional and chronic conditions. If we really want to understand gastrointestinal problems in small animals, we need to stop looking at them as single diagnoses and start seeing them as different manifestations of a very complex system. And that's exactly what we'll explore in the next videos, step by step. If this is something that interests you, feel free to tell me which GI problems you've experienced with your animal. And if you don't want to miss the series, subscribe to the channel and give it a like. That's all for now, so see you soon, bye!